It wasn't before.
Okay, welcome to our next kitchen table talk. Today we're talking about the mission, the heart behind our Foundational Concepts Collective. So we'll give you a little glimpse. Sarita, do you want to tell us a little bit?
Well, I will have to say that the Foundational Concepts Collective is really an answer to requests and is growing organically the same way everything we seem to do grows. We began to really see a lot of people who were interested in what we were doing, but for whatever reason, either in another country or, for whatever reason, couldn't attend in-person intensives. And the idea to turn it into a new version, same perspective, same basic information and approach, into a new version that could be more accessible online to more people. Really just kind of, I don't know, it may have just been a spark of light that came down out of the sky. And we went, oh, gee, that sounds like a good idea. Let's see what that would look like. I don't know, Rowan, did you see a spark of light come down out of the sky? I don't know.
I did. I'm so glad that you saw it as well. And one of the other pieces of that is, yeah, I mean, everything we're doing here is because someone asked us to, really. Like that's,
Mhm.
you know, because that's what you do when you are in community. People say that state a need and you try to meet that need. But there was also this thing that we were trying to imagine out of the intensives of a mentorship, an online mentorship, where we continued the conversations, where we had things like case reviews and um, uh, more restorative type peer review, if you will, to grow together. And from that, it was like, well, maybe what we're offering then is a mentorship. Maybe we're opening it to people who haven't sat with us in the intensives. And then it became, oh, actually, it's this collective. And the mentorship is going to be something different where it's more the leadership training because, from day one, we're trying to work our way out of a job. Y'all are going to be doing this, not us.
Mhm.
So we're all going to have fun in the meantime. And that fun is putting in the roots, right? It's really setting the roots in of our innate knowledge. We have this knowledge. We're reminding you to remember it. It's the ancient wisdom, like we talked a little bit about that with the tools that are so readily available. So we're not necessarily looking at what's in front of us. And it's not about discounting the tools. It's really about bringing the ancient wisdom into modern practice. And where's that blend and that dance? And I think a year-long program online gives us, I love the intensives. And I think it's not an either or, it's an and, but it's different in that we're fitting so much into these 6 days, whereas with this year long we get to expand things, and there's going to be our platform, right, where conversations can continue, and we're just gonna we're just gonna see how that flows. I really think that people should do it right now while while and create it with us, because that's really how we're going to do it.
Yeah, there's so much needed. And again, it was built from these community requests. So
Mhm.
then if you're putting it out to the community and they're saying, this is great, and then you're answering this next and of, oh yeah, we could have totally deepened, or this monthly meeting would be so much better if we were able to include this, or this would have added some security, this would have added some ceremony, whatever it is. Hearing the community is huge. And you heard them, and I'm so excited to watch this flourish and come out. Can you give us an example of one of the monthly topics? You have 12 monthly topics.
Pick one,
Well,
Sarita.
yeah, pick one. Well, they're all going to be yeah. Basically what we try to do in these topics, just to give you an idea, is start with who we are as people and then follow through the course of a reproductive cycle of a pregnancy, a birth, the things that can go well, the things that we want to be ready to deal with, and then all the way through to postpartum and moving on then into how that affects the rest of our lives. So it's when I pick one topic, it's a little bit tricky because it's a continuum of topics that each leads into the next one. Probably the one that I have the most fun with, to be quite truthful with you, is when we start to talk about physiologic birth, because I like to bring in a lot of the understanding of how the brain and the uterus connect. And to really believe the physiology, you have to go back to remembering that the uterus knows best how to keep the baby safe, and that the baby only knows one way out and works to be born. So when we come at it from that perspective, rather than just a mechanical opening of a cervix and a expulsion of a baby, we can begin to really understand the dance that the mother and baby do together, and how she brings everything she is to that moment. It's not a different day. It's not, we've tended with institutionalized birth to think of birth as happening over there in a day that's not part of the rest of our lives, in clothes that we don't normally wear, right? So we've removed, that's been part of the obstetrical colonization of childbirth, has been to remove it from our lives. And so when we start to talk about physiologic birth, we're going to talk about how it is a manifestation of our lives, not separate from the rest of our lives. So that might give you an idea of sort of how the perspective is different when we're talking about how the muscles work and how the brain talks and how the hormones function. Yeah.
And this language that you use
Mhm.
is a perfect example of the rest of it all. Because
Yeah.
it's just, you guys really have this gift of breaking down topics that feel so ethereal, that feel so huge, that are only able to be accumulated into a 1,800-page book. But that's not what we're doing. We're not birthing textbooks. We are not textbooks. And it's huge to be able to have these topics, have these mindsets, and break them down just so practically, simply in how our bodies work. And so then my next question, how does this 1-year collective differ from a year of midwifery school? Because you're not selling a midwifery school. You're not joining a midwifery school by joining the collective. Tell me how it differs.
Rowan? This is a hard
Well, this is a hard one. I'll say one thing that I think is standing out to us is what we're creating is what we are hungry for.
Mm.
So I loved the program I took. I loved all the programs. I was always hungry for more knowledge, right? And what we're creating isn't just a basis of the knowledge. You can find that. You can find it on Google. Honestly, AI can tell you about anything you need to know in a structured, a very academic way.
Mhm.
But we're coming together by a very sacred virtual fire every month also. And we are going to together weave all of that together within story, within the practical thing of our day-to-day life. Like Sarita said, this isn't separate from, because what we're doing is we're building relationships and we're setting that blueprint to create relationships within your community with the families that you will serve. Hopefully you know them because you are a community leader long before they're even pregnant. And so of course you're the one they choose. And so of course you're just part of their daily life during that reproductive year, right? During their childbearing year. And you're coming over and you're creating the soup together and you know them. So when you do come into their home, you're just part of the family. You're part of that. You're behind here, you're over out of the eyesight, right? Sarita, as we talk about. But you're not disruptive because you're part of the fabric. Like it's really, we're weavers and we're storytellers. And so we're weaving these stories together and we're becoming part of the fabric of the story of this birth, this life. Whether they keep inviting us to sometimes to the birthday parties or not, like we're still part always of the fabric of that story. And so we're going to become the fabric of each other's story.
Mhm.
of how we become, more fully ourselves and more fully these community members and leaders. Because midwives are, I'm sorry, if you're a midwife, you're a community leader.
Mhm. Your
And,
role model,
you
I'm sorry.
are. You are. So we're going to take care of each other and learn to take care of ourselves in the way that we care for our families so that we are already modeling that. And we all get to, be creators together in it. Like it's not a hierarchy. And coming together with that knowledge, I think is just something different. I think our fireside chats makes us different. I think that we're going to have a case study every month that the people who are signing up, are going to bring a birth, maybe one you attended, maybe your birth, maybe, you know, um, one that you were primary on. And we're gonna do a case study of that birth. We may be bringing some if there aren't more. Like,
Mhm.
um, and because we're doing this as a childbearing year, it's a year from conception to postpartum. There may just be a project where there's a continuum birth that you're
Mhm.
going to be managing as a team, not managing, but being part of as a team that we unfold. And at the end, we're coming together at the dinner table, so to speak, to tell the story of that year of birth.
Mhm.
I love the yin and yang of this. We're gonna know this so deep physically and physiologically, but then you've got, we're the weavers. We are
Mhm.
the leaders. We are leaders building leaders. We're training the trainers.
Mhm.
And that to me is so radically different than what we're seeing, what you would call is these institutionalized birth trainers, right? Like these
Mhm.
Meek schools, for instance.
Mhm.
And then you've got these other programs who have more of this weaving, but there's this really beautiful middle ground that I think you guys have really honed in on really, really well. So we're having the clinical, we're having this physiological talk of let's in depth know preeclampsia. Let's in depth know help. But also, how can we build community? How can we be the community leaders to buy this house, set this house, to call in families of, you want to know your own cervix? You want to know your own fertility? Let's do that. What does my community need today? Do we need a bunch of dad classes? Let's do dad classes. Do we need cloth diapering classes? So again, like you're saying, it's not just this single container of pregnancy. It's after, it's the before, it's everyone surrounding it. And it's going to be so beautiful. Anything else you want to add about this
Well, that's
collective? What else do we need to know?
um, so that's midwifery, what you just described, right?
Yeah.
Because midwives traditionally didn't just go to births. They understood that the community needed clean water. They understood that you needed, quarantine when there were viruses that went through. Like midwives were typically, they knew the home remedies. They took care of you when you were injured, right? Like so we understand this learning as broader than being birth centric or even, or cervix centric or even, reproductive centric in many ways. But that is much broader than that. It's about who we are as people. And as we can learn who we are as people by delving into reproduction and all the many issues that surround it, right? Especially in our culture, in our current dynamics. What we also have an opportunity to do is tell a new story, right? Like we've been telling a story of trauma for a while. We've been telling a story of throwing each other under the bus or into the fire, as the case may be. Or, I'm going to get licensed, so I'll be safe, and that one over there isn't as good as me, or, whatever. We all know. We all know the stories that we've been telling that really are dysfunctional. And so one of what I believe is one of the missions that we have in our hearts, it really is to begin to grow pods of women who no longer believe those dysfunctional stories and create together a new one that involves recognizing our humanity and our ability to actually find justice in a world that leads to some kind of peace, like world peace, that sounds kind of corny, but that really is it, right? Like we can be the people leading the new world into a new way of thinking that respects nature and humanity.
And it's not credential specific. We're going
Not at
deeper
all.
than credentials. We're going to the heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of an unschool, like we even said that when we started putting it together, like, is this a school? I was like, yeah, I know. I think it's an unschool, right? Because it's not, there may be a blueprint, there may be a basic infrastructure based on foundation of perspectives, but it's not and you have to know this or you don't graduate, like it's just all of us using a foundational structure to learn together and to get better at what we do, be it
Mhm.
reviewing cases or serving clients or whatever it might be. It's about becoming more fully who we are so that we can do a better job of whatever it is we do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And outside
Yeah.
the hierarchy, like was mentioned,
Mhm.
you're expecting to learn from your participants just as
Mhm.
they're expecting to
Always.
learn from you.
Mhm.
Everyone
Mhm.
brings a different experience in life to
Mhm.
this circle. And I want to know that. Like, that's how we learn. I was so blessed with my preceptor because she just never had that. Like, she'd attended 1800 births when I started with her. We'd leave a birth and I thought everything was just normal and everything. And she'd be like, well, I never saw that before.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
righty then.
Mhm.
It's that you're never going to arrive. You're never going to
Yeah.
know it all. You're never going to see it all. So
Right.
we all have, a unique perspective on things because of our experience, and that's what we get to learn from each other. And one of the things I think that we're also trying to instill is death is part of life. That is nature. The natural cycle is death, and the traditional midwife, wise woman, did sit death
Mhm.
with the elderly, with the injured, with birth.
Mhm.
Sometimes they go hand in hand, and there has to be the burning down of this belief system that somebody did something wrong.
You'll never know someone did something wrong. You'll never
Yeah.
know that birth, that death wasn't just meant to be. That
Right.
this baby, this person at whatever time frame hadn't already fulfilled their purpose. That's not ours to know.
That's
Right.
not ours to know. We are not saviors. We are not fortune tellers. We can't see the future. What I do know is when loss happens, there is a way to hold that family. There's a way to hold the whole community because the whole community grieves when there's a loss. And there is a way to do that in a sacred and holy way where we're still in service. We're still walking with this family, hopefully, if they allow us to. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes we're a reminder and it's not okay, but we have to hold all of that. So we may be holding the sister who had the loss while we're also leading from behind and serving the family. We may have to hold all of that to be true. And I just, I think that that's missing in a lot of places because we don't want to believe that babies don't live, but babies have historically
Right.
always lived. And one of the wisest things I heard an elder grand midwife say was sometimes that baby's only purpose was the womb walk, and sometimes that mother's last mission on this planet is to birth a baby.
Mhm.
We're not used to honoring death as we're honoring life. And this is going to come full circle within this collective. This is
Right.
absolutely something we talk about in person in the intensives, especially during our fireside chats. And then we'll continue that in our virtual fireside chats.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Well,
we would move from babies transitioning without troubles to babies that need a little help to babies that need a whole lot of help to babies that nothing's going to work no matter how much you help them. And so that would be the full circle of that kind of a topic that we would cover in the course of the events of a month.
right, let's
Just to give you
talk
another example.
about what happens when NRP doesn't work.
Right.
When
Right.
when do you call
That's
that?
more.
What's next?
Mhm. What's a
Or also
transport look-
even before that, like what if, because people ask often, and this is something that I had a conversation with a community midwife recently about, because what if we're looking at things, right? So, because people are like, well, why do we take heart tones? Well, why do we do this? Well, if you see something's up and you do, and you're able to have that conversation, we've had a demise. Like this baby's already gone. Then all the performative shit, if I may just say it, can go away. And we can talk about how to bring this baby into a sacred place and protect this bubble of them saying hello and goodbye and all of the things that they need to do to come to that place, instead of, okay, we didn't look at anything, we didn't see anything, even though maybe we had that intuitive hit, maybe we thought we should, but we'd had this agreement that we weren't going to interrupt, or maybe we saw that mech that we know is not okay, that this baby's not okay, but we didn't have that. It's how to have that conversation, how to do that so that we don't have to do performative CPR. We don't have to do performative NRP if we already know that
Because that
this
could
is
be even more traumatic.
Totally.
Yeah.
for everyone involved,
Mhm.
for
Totally.
everyone involved,
Totally.
because
So
you're
this
given a hope where there's
conversation-
no hope, right?
Right.
And so,
Right.
because you know when that baby's not coming in.
Right.
Mhm.
Immediately, pretty much.
Mhm.
This one is good.
Mhm.
And what goes right hand in hand with what you're telling us is autonomy.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are so many conversations that need to be had of us just really nitty gritty getting down to what is autonomy? What is my own autonomy? What is this client's autonomy?
Mhm.
And how can we prioritize and value and honor both of those? And that's a huge topic that I love
So
to
So that
get
just
into.
happens to be one of the fireside chats.
Yes, it does. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You
When
can
these
bring
conversations
tea or
circle for so long, we got to hit on it.
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, awesome.
So,
Thanks for the
yay.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're looking
Well,
forward
good
to it.
talk. We'll talk
Mhm.
to you guys later.
Bye.